Hi, I'm Kristen with Forward Life Daily, where we help people go from stuck to unstoppable with faith-based guidance and actionable steps. In this episode, we're going to talk about the 7 business and life lessons that we can learn from the Gilded Age. Yes, what if I told you that America already lived through an era of massive wealth, rapid innovation, corruption, inequality, and cultural tension, and it was actually over 100 years ago. Yes, it was called the Gilded Age. And if you're in business or leadership or you're building anything meaningful, you need to really study that area because there's lessons that are incredibly relevant right now. So stick around, we're going to delve in. If you could, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. This is Forward Life Network on YouTube and Rumble, and at our website, we are faith-based media that helps move you forward. And if you can subscribe to our channel today, it helps us produce more great content for you. Okay, so we're talking about the Gilded Age. I don't know about you, but me and my fiance ended up watching The Men Who Built America. It was a series online and on TV. I think it was the History Channel. And it was really fascinating to hear about the different time period, that time period in America, especially because we're in the Pittsburgh area. So hearing about Andrew Carnegie and hearing about Rockefeller, stuff that I sort of know a lot about on a deeper level, but to sort of see what they put together about that era was really interesting. So it got me thinking about the Gilded Age and just everything that was happening during that era and maybe what we can take from that time frame. So the first takeaway that I have is growth without character collapses. Yes, I think in the era of those giants, it exposed a lot of corruption and inequality. Even though there was a lot of advancements happening, there was a lot of businesses that grew faster than their integrity. And when you grow that fast, it's hard to sustain something. So that's our first takeaway. As you're building your business, as you're doing things like that, your character has to match that growth, or like many of those people, there will be a collapse. Number 2 is you have to build systems and not just success. Oh, I can hear those words ringing in my ears right now. I used to work for somebody that really would push this a lot every single day. It was, how are we building a system? It wasn't, did you get this done? Did you accomplish this? It's, what is the system that we are putting in place as a team? And I look back, and as annoying as it was, that person was right. Systems are something that are incredibly important as you're building a business. When we look back at the Gilded Age, they had railroads and steel and oil, and these massive systems were created, and that shaped our nation. So as much as we all have ideas that we want to scale, it's really important to have the infrastructure to sustain those companies to be able to have success. So even in my own life right now, we think a lot about systems. We think a lot about, if something is falling off the plate, what is it that we don't have in place as a system? Not just, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. Making a system, whether it's with Google Calendar or a functional calendar in your house, or, even within your family, just creating those systems, defining, when things are going to be done is really important on a weekly basis, just to keep things running well and functioning smoothly. Number 3 is that reputation is real currency. And a lot of the people that came through the Gilded Age, they were visionaries of their time. Some of them have great reputations now. Some of them came to be crooks and came to be people that didn't care, and that's their legacy. So when things shift and chaos happens and the marketplace is changing, reputation is a real currency to have. And I know for me, that's why it's really important, people that I've worked with, that they have a good reputation because I'm aligning myself with their reputation. And so that's always been something that's been very important to me. And then also maintaining my own reputation. That is something that is a real currency when we think about it in business. Number 4 is that disruption is an opportunity. In the Gilded Age, it was very chaotic. There was new technology, new markets, new competition. There was all this chaos happening, but yet chaos created the shift and it created the new to come about. And I kind of feel like we're really in that space right now. There's a lot of technology, AI, everybody talks about AI all the time. There's all this stuff that's causing chaos in our world, in the world that we've known, in the world that we've had. And so we can either look at it as very scary, which I think some of us do. A lot of us are being told right now that our jobs are going to be replaced by AI. And there's probably some truth to that. However, I think that if we can shift our vision to seeing that disruption can also be an opportunity, that is something that can help us get through this era, just like they did in the Gilded era. They took that and they did things and they innovated, and because of their innovation, we have things like steel. We have things like, those innovations have been the building blocks to some of the comforts that we even enjoy to this day. So I think if we can shift our mindset, which is very hard, from being fearing the change to embracing the change, then that will help us go forward in a better way. Number 5, something else we can learn from this era is that people matter more than profit. Now, I don't think that was always shown in the Gilded Age. There was definitely a lot of exploitation of workers. There was unrest. There was things like that. But a lot of that drove some of the reforms that came out of that time frame. A lot of the reforms we have in work today were sort of driven, by that issue with people. So I think it's important to keep that in mind as you're building a business. Maybe you can't change corporate America. Maybe you can't change the big players and, even in the last several decades, how a lot of jobs have been outsourced and things like that. And maybe you can't change those big players and what they're doing. But if you are building a business, it's important for you to also know that people matter more than profit. And I think that goes back to reputation as real currency. And I think that goes back to being open to the disruption. So that's another thing I think we can learn both good and bad from the Gilded Age is putting people over profits is a lot more important to the legacy of what you are building. Number 6 is wealth amplifies who you already are. And I've heard this a lot from one of my favorite financial gurus, Dave Ramsey. He would always say wealth magnifies who you are. If you're a giver, you become a philanthropist. If you're a drinker, you become a drunk. Like he would always say that, money amplifies what you already are. And I think that is an important takeaway from the Gilded Age because there was a lot of wealth creation, but all it really did was reveal the character of those that became wealthy. Some of them became major philanthropists, some of them did not, and they exploited people, but it amplified who they were. And so I think it's important as you're building your business now to understand that wealth will magnify who you are. So it goes back to that, growing your business, growing your character at the same time so that you can handle that. So, success will magnify what you are. So it's important to take that away from the Gilded Age and stay on the positive side of that. 7 is that ultimately legacy is bigger than lifestyle. The era eventually gave way to reform, regulation, and long-term change. but the people that did it right built something that outlived them. They thought about legacy and not just leverage. So I think it's really important as you're thinking about your business or you're already in your business building it to think about the legacy of what it is you're wanting to leave this world with. What is that legacy? Because we can all watch these shows and hear about these men that built America, and some of them had good legacy and some of them had bad legacy and some of them had, sort of a mixed bag. And I just think it's really interesting just to see their struggles, their triumphs, their, contributions. But ultimately, that is what they had. That is what they left us, was their legacy. And so as we think of the Gilded Age, as we study these men, we want to realize how does that relate to us, and what are we doing to build our legacy in our businesses. So basically, the Gilded Age proves that you can build something massive, but if you don't build it right, it won't last. Growth is very easy, but stewardship is harder. And I just feel like these points are important as you're building whatever it is that you're building, that you remember the Gilded Age and remember that it is easy to build. It's not always easy, but it can be easy to build at a level, but it is, how you steward that going forward is important. And so if you could, please visit us on our website at forwardlifenetwork.com. We are building a platform for faith-based media that moves people forward. So that's the goal. So if you could join our email list, subscribe to our channel, and really support what we are doing, we want to bring you the best content and the best faith-based ways to move forward in life.